Welcome everyone to the Explainer. Today we're literally traveling back in time to 6th century Arabia. We're going to explore the documented early life of Prophet Muhammad, long before his prophethood, relying directly on authentic historical and biographical sources. We'll be looking at a period defined by intense tribal warfare, the groundbreaking establishment of early human rights, and a legendary trade expedition that quite literally changed the course of history. We've got a lot of fascinating ground to cover, so let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the Battle of Fijar, then the Covenant of Fudul. After that, we'll cover his time as the trustworthy merchant, explore some miracles in the desert, and wrap up with his incredible legacy of integrity.
Section 1. The Battle of Fijar, a breach of sacred peace.
So to really understand the environment the Prophet grew up in, we have to look at what's called Harb al-Fijar, which translates to the war of transgression, or essentially a war of sin. Now, the stakes here were incredibly high. This whole thing was fueled by deep-seated tribal bias and some really bitter trade disputes. But you know what made it an actual transgression? The timing. This fierce battle was fought right in the middle of the sacred months. Back in ancient Arabia, this was a specific time of year when all warfare and bloodshed were strictly forbidden. Breaking this sacred truce, that was a massive, massive societal violation.
On one side, you have the allied tribes of Quraysh and Kinana, going up against the Qais Island tribe. Historical sources tell us the young prophet was actually present at this battle, standing alongside his uncles from the Quraysh tribe. But here is the absolutely crucial thing to note: his conduct. Because he was so strictly against warfare and shedding blood, he flat out refused to raise a sword against anyone. Actually, he only participated defensively. Accounts say he would gather the stray arrows fired by the enemy and hand them over to his uncles just so they could defend themselves. Think about that. Even in the middle of a chaotic, rule-breaking war, he maintained this incredibly strict personal boundary against violence.
Moving on to Section 2, the Covenant of Fudul, a stand for justice.
So the catalyst for this really beautiful human rights pact was a blatant injustice. Here's what happened. A merchant from the Zubayd tribe comes into Mecca to sell his goods, right? But this powerful local guy named Al-Asbin basically takes the merchandise and bluntly refuses to pay him. Well, this oppression triggered the fair-minded men of Mecca to finally take action. They all gathered at the house of Abdullah bin Jaddan and drafted this incredible agreement. They literally vowed that they would never support an oppressor in Mecca again. They pledged to secure the rights of all oppressed people, whether they were locals or completely vulnerable foreigners. It's just a brilliant illustration of how they built a strict system of mutual cooperation and justice in a society that was, up until then, pretty much entirely ruled by tribal might.
The Prophet's participation in this pact left a huge, lasting mark on him. Years later, he reflected on it saying, "I witnessed a pact in the house of Abdullah bin Jaddan that I would not exchange for a herd of red camels. If I were invited to it now in the time of Islam, I would respond." Now, to put that into perspective for you, red camels were the ultimate status symbol back then. It was immense material wealth. Think of it like being offered a whole fleet of luxury sports cars today. This quote really emphasizes how profoundly he valued the principles of restorative justice and human rights over any amount of material wealth.
All right, Section 3, the Trustworthy Merchant, where character creates opportunity.
By the time he reached his young adulthood, his impeccable character had become universally recognized by pretty much everyone in Mecca. Society gave him two very distinct titles: Al-Sadiq, which means the truthful, and Al-Ameen, meaning the trustworthy. And these weren't just casual nicknames his friends gave him. This was a total societal consensus on his absolute, unquestionable reliability and honesty in every single one of his dealings.
And as we know, strong character naturally opens doors, which led to a completely life-altering trade expedition. It all started with an invitation from Lady Khadijah. She was a noble, wealthy, and highly respected merchant woman in Mecca. She had heard these widespread reports of his honesty, so she entrusted him with her trade goods to take all the way to the region of Syria. He made this grueling desert journey alongside her servant, a man named Seerah, and the whole thing culminated in a triumphant, incredibly lucrative return to Mecca. Let's break down exactly what happened out there on the road.
Section 4. Miracles in the Desert, a truly blessed expedition.
As they were traveling through this harsh, unforgiving terrain, the servant Seerah reported witnessing some truly awe-inspiring, miraculous sights. According to historical texts, Seerah actually observed two angels providing continuous shade over the prophet, protecting him from that scorching, brutal desert sun.
And it gets even more amazing. When the caravan stopped to rest, Seerah noted that the branches of a tree automatically bowed down just to cast shade over him. These accounts really highlight a profound sense of divine favor and blessing that accompanied them on what was otherwise a really grueling physical journey.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the result of all that integrity and blessing: double the usual profit. When the caravan finally made its way back to Mecca, the expedition yielded an unprecedented financial success. They brought back double the immense profit of a normal caravan, which was something that had literally never been seen before in Lady Khadijah's business ventures, a real game changer.
And finally, Section 5, A Legacy of Integrity, The Journey's End.
This is where we see a purely business relationship transform into something sacred. Seerah returns and gives Lady Khadijah the full rundown. And it wasn't just a report about the massive profits. He told her all about the miracles he witnessed, and most importantly, the high ethics and impeccable character the Prophet displayed every step of the way. Well, Khadijah was deeply impressed. Sure, the financial success was great, but it was his unmatched character that truly captivated her. And this profound admiration, it ultimately led to a historic and blessed marriage, one founded entirely on a bedrock of pure integrity.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a lingering, thought-provoking question. If his youth was this exemplary, defined by a total refusal to shed blood in the midst of chaos, a passionate defense of human rights, and this unwavering trustworthiness in business, how would his later life shape humanity? You see, these 6th century lessons of justice and integrity aren't just history. They are the foundation of a legacy that continues to influence billions of people today.
If you love breaking down deeply transformative historical accounts, just like we did today, make sure to like this explainer, share it with a friend, and hit that subscribe button for the Animated Quranic Tales channel. It is absolutely the best way to catch our next historical journey. Because think about it, if one young man's integrity in the 6th century desert could change the world, imagine what learning from that legacy could do for yours. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.